Here we are performing stage 3 of the Buff Dudes home workout plan. And this plan is keeping things very basic. We're not using any complex machines. We're really keeping it with barbells, dumbbells, and body weight. And today we're gonna be performing some legs, some chest. Let's get after it. Oh yeah. So we're starting this off with a pre-exhaustion of the quads. So I said legs, but we're really trying to pay close attention to focus on the quads in this workout. And that's why we're pre-exhausting with some kneeling sissy squats. This is really gonna put a lot of tension in the quads, really isolate the quads. So that way when we jump on to the next exercise, squats, they're already gonna be a little bit more fatigued and have to work extra hard during the big compound movement. And this exercise is really nice. If you don't wanna do your typical standing sissy squats where you're kind of like bending over, it's kind of, a little risky for some people. Maybe you're dealing with some knee issues. This one can be a little bit more safe. And what you really want to pay attention to this one is the eccentric contraction. So you're slowly lowering yourself down, feeling that nice deep stretch in the quads and then extending up. And what you don't want to do is push your hips back. So you're basically just squatting into position where you're here and you're just kind of squatting down on your heels and it's not keeping any tension or any contraction in your quads. What you want to do is push your hips forward, keep them there as much as you can, lean back where you feel that nice deep stretch in those quads, and then you're extending up just like so. So there's no hip activation. That's what makes it an isolation movement because you're really only focusing on the extension and flexion of the knee joint. So awesome exercise, really simple, really gets those quads fired up.
Squats, big compound movement, staple of all our leg days. After the pre-exhaustion of the quads, moving into the big exercise such as squats, the quads are gonna feel a little pre-exhausted. So did the trick. I need to catch my breath. You're gonna be doing 4 sets, 15, 12, 10, 8 reps, pyramid. So you're going down in your repetitions each set, but you're going up in weight.
Just got done with squats and we're on to some walking lunges. These ones are difficult and these ones definitely help stimulate the quads and glutes. But the problem is, you can see, we are very thankful to have a pretty decent sized gym, and converted from a shop. Not everyone has one like this. You could be working out in your garage or maybe just in your living room. And one thing is to be said about a lot of these exercises, we try to keep them very simple: barbells, dumbbells, body weight. But this one in particular, the walking lunges, is gonna require a pretty decent amount of space. You're walking forward, and if you have a smaller space, even one is like this, pretty decent size, you're still gonna have to like walk forward, turn around, walk. Kind of a hassle, and sometimes it makes things a little bit more difficult for you to really focus on the repetitions of the exercise. So the good thing about any exercise is there's gonna be a variation to that exercise. And the one we're gonna be doing and showing you what you can do is just something as simple as split squats. So really, you're in the same exact body position as a walking lunge. You're walking forward here, stopping, lunging forward here, and squatting down. So basically, if you take out the forward motion, it's gonna be a split squat. So this is a great way to target one leg at a time. You still have your back placed leg as stabilization, but really the focus is gonna be on this forward placed leg there. So what we're gonna be doing is gonna be taking some dumbbells, holding them at our sides, keeping this split squat position here, and just coming down and back up. Really still focusing on the exact same muscle groups. Yes, there is no forward motion. Takes a little bit of the stabilization out of it because you're just really stuck in one place, but you're still stimulating those exact same muscles. So if you don't have a lot of room, if you can't do walking lunges, try this variation, the split squat.
We're on to leg lifts. We're using 30 pounds. You might think, that's a little light. And in the beginning, it does feel that way. But boy, I'm telling you, this one adds up fast. And with 15 reps on each leg, near the end, you are gonna feel about just as strained as you were with the split squats. As you can tell, I'm very winded, very out of breath. This is really pushing me to my limit. And that's the great thing about doing these alternate versions. Maybe a little unconventional. Maybe it's not an exercise you've tried in the past. And when you try it out, you realize just how good it is. And it is a very good exercise.
One thing to keep in mind and make sure you are optimizing this exercise is keep that weight right over the knee there, not on the kneecap itself, but just right above it, kind of the meat right here. So that way you're forced to really pull that weight into position. If it's mid-thigh, there's not gonna be a lot of weight on it. Changes the leverage there, the weight distribution. So out here, your thigh, your adductors, your hip flexors are gonna have to work in overdrive to lift that weight all the way up there. And funny enough, this is, I'm sure as you know, flexing at the hips, at the femur there, you're thinking, well, it's definitely the hip flexors, which, funny enough, the rectus femoris, which is kind of this like, almost looks like two snakes kind of running through in the middle of your quad there. It's really gonna be hitting the rectus femoris quite a bit, because the rectus femoris is actually a pretty decent hip flexor there. So that's what we're trying to target. Rectus femoris, kind of really add that nice thickness and strength in there, because it's hard to isolate that muscle group, and this one will definitely do that.
And while performing the exercise, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and try to bring up the knee just about parallel to the hip. And one thing you want to make sure not to do is use your arm in order to pull the weight up.
Because it probably looks like we're curling it. So
exactly, it does. And me and Brendan are always tempted to isolate our biceps. It kind of just comes naturally. You want to just use your arm to stabilize the weight, just so, because I mean, if you don't, it's if you can balance this without your arm, then I'm very amazed and proud, but we can't. So we use it just to stabilize. You're bringing it just about parallel to your hip, but you're just using your hand to stabilize the weight, not to pull it. We're wrapped up with the quads and we're moving on to the chest. We're beginning with the single arm incline dumbbell press. So we are working one side of the body and then the other. That would make it a unilateral exercise, which is great when working on muscle imbalances. It's a question we get a lot. One side of my body is bigger than the other. What do I do? This is a great way to fix that problem. And usually what we'll do is we'll add a few more reps on the weaker side. I know I had a problem with my bicep years ago. I'm a lefty, so my right arm was always a little smaller, so I'd always add a few extra reps on that side. As years went by, I slowly corrected the problem, and now I'm symmetrical, baby. But it's not a thing that's gonna happen overnight. So like anything, you gotta be patient, you gotta be consistent. This one is working the clavicular portion of the chest, smaller muscle group, little harder to work. So again, that's why we like to prioritize it with exercises such as the single arm incline dumbbell press. Yeah. You may have noticed some of the stuff in the background. You may be wondering, why do these guys have a gallon of blood just kind of
extra
lying?
Pump.
Exactly.
From our extra pump, we got 2 pumps.
We're actually preparing to do a short film. It's something we really enjoy doing. We've done some in the past. We got kind of a crazy idea. If you're a Conan fan, if you watch the end of the Conan movies, it always ends with King Conan on his throne. What happened? They never showed us. We want to show you. So we are filming a concept trailer for Conan 3. We're going to be using some pretty cool technology to help bring Arnold to life.
By getting Arnold himself.
By getting Arnold himself, AKA Brandon, who does a damn good Arnold impression. Deep fake may be involved. Look for it soon. We're really excited. We're going to be shooting it now in the future, and we're going to release very soon.
In the future.
In the future, again, yeah. So that's why we have all this stuff. Sticking with our more clavicular focused portion of the chest, we're moving on to the kneeling landmine press. So we're sticking a bar in the corner of a room, or if you have the landmine attachment, one of those are very handy. If not, no worries. Just make sure it's secured in a corner. You're gonna go ahead and kneel. We're using a little bit of the pad, easier on the knees, which is nice. And you're go ahead and you're clasping the bar between your hands. You're keeping the elbows relatively close, gliding right beside the body. You're bringing down to the bar just about to the middle of the upper chest. Wanna keep a nice, solid squeeze on the chest at all times. You can even squeeze the chest together for a nice mind muscle activation there. It really helps. And it's really one of our favorite upper chest exercises. We've been using it for years and it's produced really great results in both of us. No calf raise machine, no problem. All we're doing is we're sitting on a bench, we got the barbell, we're putting it a little bit above knee, and we are doing a great exercise alternative to what you would see in a commercial gym with the seated calf raise. You got a lot of stability here with the bar. You're placing your hands just a little bit outside your legs just to offer a little bit more stability as you perform the exercise. Oh, bring it up to top position, nice and slow back down, and there you go, a great calf exercise. And we're almost finished with day one.
Here we go, last exercise. We're doing core, Gotta love the planks. And 3 sets, 90 seconds. That wraps up this workout. We'll see you for day 2.
Getting day 2 started off with pullovers. We're gonna be pre-exhausting the back before we move on to the major exercise. A little similar to what we did in day number 1, which is a really great for pinpointing that muscle that you're planning on working on.
You know, it's funny because we're definitely trying to target the lats in the pullovers, but pullovers work a lot of different muscles besides lats. We're working the striatus, we're working a little bit of the chest, the shoulders. Your abdominals are definitely tense throughout the exercise, the motion. So a great way to get basically a full body, upper body warm up and activation in this. Compound movement, 4 sets, 10 reps, pull-ups. A very good one to work a lot of muscles. The lats, of course, a lot of biceps in there, rear delts, traps. This is definitely more of like a full upper body movement, and it feels good. And that's why they're so tough though too, because some people always weigh a little bit more, a little bit less, and not everyone is able to do a pull-up. Thankfully, there's a lot of different options available. Inverted row, you can always strap a mobility band to do assisted pull-ups. We've done many videos on the best ways to achieve your first pull-up or achieve more pull-ups than just one. So thankfully, if you can't do a pull-up, well, there's always variations for you.
I have to offer a quick apology because this stage 3, has been delayed between the prior stage 1, stage 2. I've been sick a lot this year. I think it's because I was very isolated the last couple years. Now I'm out in the real world again around a lot of people. I have 2 small children and I'm learning. They're like little germ collectors, man. They see other kids, passes on to them, goes directly to me. You just gotta deal with it. I know it can be a problem. A lot of people, oh, I'm sick, what do I do? I don't wanna lose my gains, I don't wanna lose my progress. My suggestion would be just rest. And that's what I do. I went through a lot of the same things. Oh, I gotta do it. But if you hit it too hard, you're in a weakened state. That can be very frustrating, could lead to injury. Maybe you're not even over the sickness and you're just amplifying it. So
maybe you get other people sick.
Exactly, that too. You little bastards. It's gym etiquette 101, man. Heal, freshen up, and then you won't be getting me sick anymore. So you just got to deal with sickness sometimes. But I think we're over it. 2023, there's going to be no anything.
You know, it's really interesting doing a compound like the high rows, especially in a prone position. You're very stable, putting your sternum, your upper body against a bench. It just feels like it just isolates the movement a little bit more. And in that way, I'm talking about if you're doing a regular row, just standing, sometimes you can use your legs, your hips to help get that heavy weight up, move your upper body around. With this, you're solid on this bench and you're really only forced to be able to move that bar up and down without any help of your lower body or even a lot of movement in your upper body. So it can seem a little bit more difficult and not go quite as heavy in that capacity, but you really feel that fatigue in those muscles you're trying to target. And of course, then supersetting with an isolation, like the reverse flies, targeting the posterior delt. Posterior delts are already working throughout this pyro. So then immediately going on to an isolation, targeting the posterior deltoid, they're really fired up, they're really burning. One of the reasons why we go a little bit lighter in the weight on those ones. Moving on to another isolation, it's gonna be the shoulder extensions, very reminiscent of a straight arm pull down or even a pull over, but your arms are not as much in a fully flexed position. You're kind of starting midway down and then fully extending or even almost like hyper-extending to help target those posterior deltoids, because that's one of the major movements they're involved in, is shoulder extension along with the lats. But in this position, a bit of the lighter dumbbells and the higher repetitions, you can really help target and isolate those posterior delts. So an odd one, but one that definitely works.
Moving on to the good stuff, baby. We are isolating the biceps with the barbell curl, arguably the greatest exercise for bicep development. I'm feeling that pump and I'm feeling damn good.
Concentration curl is the last bicep exercise. A couple of ways you can do this. Doing right now is just gonna be a kind of standing free form concentration curl. I've always really liked this and how they felt for me, but not everyone maybe feels this particular one the best. The other variation is just using a bench and putting your arm supporting it and doing concentration curls like this, or maybe even using the inside of the leg to do it to support your upper arm there. So a lot of variations, but really all the same goal. Really try to target the biceps. Last exercise, the weighted crunches, targeting the abdominals. You can see not the biggest range of motion, doesn't have to be, really just working on that spinal flexion. Using a little bit of weight here at 35 pounds, not a lot, but after 20 reps, it definitely starts to add up real quick. But that is the end of this workout, day 2. We'll see you on day 3. Yeah.
It is day 3 and we're continuing the trend of pre-exhausting. Today we're beginning with the dumbbell flies and then we're going to be moving on to the bench press. Today focusing on chest, anterior, deltoids, and triceps. So we're gonna bust out these 3 sets of 15 reps on the flies and then we're moving directly on to our first major compound movement of the day.
Start out with the isolation, onto the compound. I love starting with isolation to pre-exhaust. Really just kind of gives you that nice connection to the chest. So when you move on to the compound, of course there's a lot more muscles involved, your triceps, your front delts. You still feel that chest working a little bit harder maybe than you're used to if you go right into the compound. So definitely some great activation in there. And yeah, these pyramid schemes are great. We've been using for a long time, continue to use them. I love being able to adjust the repetitions, but also the weight, make it a little bit harder for yourself, but still the volume is pretty high in this one exercise. On to the superset, starting out with the single arm dumbbell bench press, unilateral exercise. We always like to include unilateral movements for the most part in all of our programs, really just because it helps pinpoint a specific side, really targeting one side and then the other side, which really helps with many things: balance, coordination, stability. As you can see with these ones, when you're taking that weight, the opposite side of your body is gonna have to really try to contract and pull your body back to center line. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's gonna take a little bit more concentration, which can help carry over into other exercises as well. And of course, supersetting with the alternating front raises with the dumbbells here. You know, with chest work, a lot of our anterior deltoid is already working as a secondary muscle group. So we're pairing it up in this stage to really further its activation because it's already activated, it's already working. We're gonna put extra work on it to have that nice development in that upper body, in the upper front shield area. So great pairing here, definitely difficult, but feels damn good. What the barbell curls are for the biceps, skull crushes are for the triceps. Probably one of the best isolation movements for overall tricep development, in my opinion. Definitely helped me gain my tricep size. You just can't beat them. I mean, I love these things.
This probably doesn't need to be said, but with an exercise such as skull crushers, as the name implies, there is a little bit of danger involved. So you want to start light, start right, feel it out, make sure it's right for you, and then move on. For me personally, I like to always have a warm-up set, particularly due to the fact that I've suffered from tennis elbow in the past, and movements such as skull crushers can irritate that a little bit. So I like to warm up, get ready, and I experience it pain-free, and it makes everything much better. Moving on to the prone kickbacks, appropriately named due to the fact that you were in the prone position. This is one me and Brandon kind of thought of one day, just due to the fact that, at least for me myself, sometimes I can have a little bit of an issue with your standard kickbacks where you've got one knee on the bench and you're bringing your arm parallel to the floor. This one just feels a little bit more comfortable for me personally, and I really enjoy the lockout. I can really feel my triceps engage quite a bit. So if it's one you haven't done before, we really highly recommend trying it out. It's a great tricep exercise and you will feel the activation immediately.
I mean, they really kind of mimic the mechanics of like a tricep push down on the cable machine, because if you're imagining here, especially like the rope, and you're pushing down like this, and then all of a sudden you move your body into prone position, you're really doing the exact same thing. You're just now utilizing the dumbbells and against the gravity. But yeah, since you're really extending and gravity's gonna wanna pull that weight back down, you're forced to really tense, flex, and engage those triceps like crazy to keep that dumbbell in that position. That's why keeping it really slow is good. On the way up, slight hold like Hudson was saying, really getting that peak contraction, that lockout, and then really slow eccentric or negative motion and those triceps are gonna be blowing up for sure.
Continuing our tradition of incorporating core into our final exercise of the workouts, we're gonna be doing hanging leg raises today. 3 sets, 15 reps, and I'm feeling pretty worn out, and I'm thinking you probably are too. So rest up, recover, and we'll see you back for day 4 of stage 3. First exercise of the day is going to be a pre-exhaust with the lying hamstring dumbbell curls. If you haven't performed this one in the past, it is an excellent exercise. Great alternative to the hamstring curl machine that you'll find in a commercial gym. Of course, this time we're using a dumbbell. Half the struggle with this one can just be getting used to the notion of clasping the dumbbells with your feet, but it's a lot easier than you think it may be. Of course, if it's your first time, start with a very light weight just to get used to the mechanics of it, but once you get accustomed to it, it's gonna be one that you're probably gonna use all the time. I really enjoy it. And with this one, you really wanna focus on the time under tension, as you can kind of rest a little bit at the top and bottom positions, but you want to try your best to avoid that. You want to really focus on the concentric, but also the eccentric as you're bringing it back down to maximize the tension on your hamstrings. Finish the isolation of the hamstrings. Now we're moving on to the compound. It's going to be deadlifts. This is a really big one. In fact, it's working damn near every single muscle group in your body. They all got to come together to make this one possible. If you're still a little unsure of how to perform the deadlift, we have our beginners phase of this plan where we go into it a lot more in depth. I've linked that in the description of the video. In fact, we've linked all of the stages. So stage 0, 1, 2, they're all there in the link if you want a little bit of a refresher. This one is another pyramid, so we're going down in reps, up in weight. It's really gonna be taxing. This is one of the biggest exercises out there, and it's one that we feel personally, barring injury or something that may prevent you from performing it, should be a staple of everyone's exercise toolkit, because it's one that is really gonna help to elevate your fitness journey. We're moving on to dumbbell Romanian deadlifts. It's gonna be 3 sets, 12 reps. This is the second hamstring isolation exercise we're going to be doing during this workout, and it's not gonna be the last. So prepare those hamstrings. They're gonna be put through a hell of a lot of work. With this exercise, you want it slow and controlled. You want a little bit of bend in the knee and keep those arms nice and straight. And what you really want to try to focus on is pushing those hips back. You don't want to think of this as returning them to the floor, such as with a deadlift. You want to focus more on the stretch in the hamstrings. So nice and slow on the way down. Again, with just a little bit of bend in the knee, pushing the hips back. When you feel a lot of tension in those hamstrings, usually for me, it's about the mid-shin area. You want to go ahead and bring it right back to the top position, just a bit like a rubber band. You're releasing that tension back to the starting position, and then you rep the rest out one after the other.
Nordic Ham Curls, an amazing exercise, honestly. One that's very difficult. It's just body weight, as you can see, and you're really focusing on the eccentric motion, the lowering, and really trying to tense the muscles and bring yourself as low as possible before your strength gives out, your hamstrings give out. Of course, you have yourself to catch yourself as you lower for that safety into that push-up position. You know, you can give a little slight push-off, but really you want to try to concentrically contract or shorten your muscles to bring yourself up to the top position there, the starting position. So really, you're hitting 2 of those motions, the eccentric and concentric, very hard. And yeah, this creates a lot of stimulus in the hamstrings and really fatigues the hell out of it, but excellent strength building exercise right here. Very, very good. If you haven't done it, definitely give it a shot. As you can see, we did a little bit of a DIY setup here. Easy to do, barbell, some dumbbells. You know, we have some pads here just for comfort, but that's basically it. And if you do have a problem with these, you can always do it close to maybe a squat rack or some kind of anchor point and have a band around your chest, and you'll have that tension. So when you're lowering yourself, the band is going to make it a little less weight or load on your hamstrings. So if you can't quite get it down, you can always use a band to help do a little assistance there. On some more back, you'll notice in this stage that there are multiple days with chest and back in it, splitting it up. You do some back on leg day and then do some chest on leg day as well. So we splitting the quads and hamstrings. So the point of that is we're not only increasing the volume over the whole week rather than maybe just in one workout, we're also increasing the frequency of what muscle groups you work. And that can be very beneficial to get more stimulation in there, to get more growth. So that's why this stage is a little bit unique that way. And really just trying to switch it up each stage to constantly push your body in new areas and really try to force it to adapt to new training methods. And this is like tried and proven. We've done it many times in the past, and I know you guys are gonna love it.
Moving on to the single arm rows. We're gonna be doing 3 sets, 10 reps. This is a unilateral exercise. As Brandon mentioned in the prior day, unilateral exercise can be really great for balance. It can also be a great gauge of if one side is stronger than the other. You may do the right side and go, wow, I can bust out 15 reps, no problem. You move on to the left. Maybe you can only do 8 or 9. So it's a good indication of where your strength levels may need a little kick in the ass. So that is really another great reason why we like to utilize and feature unilateral exercises in most of our workout routines.
Can't forget calves. As you can see, not really focusing on too much of a stretch, lowering your heel just really to the ground, but focusing on pressing the balls of your feet and raising the heel as high as you can. You know, really good contraction in those calves. And they work, they really work. Try to do a little slight hold at the top, squeeze, flex, then let it down, flat foot, and go again. Whew. Not much setup, spare dumbbells, that's it. Ending with Superman, really targeting that lower back, sticking with the posterior chain theme, and it's a good one. You know, you can't forget about the lower back. It's definitely part of the core, your abdominals, lower back, all that good stuff. But that ends today's workout. We'll see you next time for day 5. Yeah.
It is the final day of stage 3. It is gonna be shoulders and arms, and we're continuing our theme of the prior days with a pre-exhaust being the first exercise. So we're doing dumbbell lateral raises. It's gonna be 3 sets, 15 reps, a little bit of a lighter weight. We're really getting those lateral delts activated before moving on to our first compound. Pre-exhaust is over, we're moving on to our next exercise, which is the compound. We're gonna be working all 3 heads of the deltoids with the classic, the overhead press, part of the Golden 5. Really one of the most bang for your buck exercises you can do for your shoulder development. It is the end of the week and weights are feeling surprisingly heavy. So if you are feeling the same thing, hey, there's no shame in backing off a little bit. As Brandon said earlier in this week, we're really focusing on volume. So there's quite a bit going on here. So don't be surprised if you're feeling a little bit more fatigued than you normally would be, because you put yourself through a lot, and we have as well. So we're still trying to push ourselves, but it's a little lighter than it normally is just because we are feeling a little exhausted. Oh. It's not King Kong, Jeff Goldblum. It's Buff Dudes. Yeah. Buys and tries superset. This is Buff Dude's comfort food right here, man. We've been working hard all week. This is the dessert.
Oh. On to the cross bench tricep dips, supersetted with the hammer curls. You know, the cross bench dips, it's kind of nice because it's almost like a compound movement. There's definitely some shoulder involvement in there, some flexion in there, as well as the flexion extension of your shoulder joint. So you can go pretty damn heavy with these. You know, we're sticking with body weight just because our triceps are a little bit fatigued, like Hudson was saying earlier, since this is a high volume, high frequency stage we're doing. But feel free to add a little bit of weight. Triceps are definitely game for that in this motion. And then moving right on to the alternating hammer curls, which is an excellent movement because it's not only focusing on your biceps, but it's getting a little bit of the forearms in there, the flexors in there. So you go a little heavier with those as well, alternating course. So one side, then the next, so on and so forth. Getting a damn good pump in these ones. We love it.
Forearms were a secondary muscle group worked in the alternating hammer curls, which was great because I was prepping us for this superset, which is the reverse curls with the finger curls, because when you think of the arms, you can't forget the forearms. They make up a major portion of the arm itself, and that is why we like to always include it in our exercise routines. it's one of those things, it can be a little neglected, so you want to watch yourself, because if you're loading up big time on this one, you're going to notice you have a problem. Even opening and closing your hands the next day, your forearms are going to be so blasted. So you want to start light, start right, but of course, if you have kept forearms a part of your routine, this one is still going to fatigue the hell out of you as we're nearing the end of this workout, and these arms are feeling pumped the hell up by this point. Couldn't forget the core, so we're wrapping up this workout with some rollouts.
And that's it, man. That is the end of this stage. Felt damn good. I like this one. This was fun.
Means we only got one left to go. It's going to be stage 4. Look for it very soon. Thank you for following us on this journey. We hope you're reaping the benefits, because I know we are.
Proof's in the pudding.
Stay pumped, yeah.